do the market slide because I think this is one that, we don't talk about as much. We don't revisualize it as much in this bi-weekly format. And there was a lot of cool concepts in here. You have this great case study with Crunchyroll growing. You also had stats around demographics. There's a lot of points to be made. So the first thing I want to do is just come up with a headline that I think captures that this is a growing market. I'm playing kind of with the rag. So the rag is, basically the way lines break. And I'm always looking for a balanced rag and a rag that, speaks to the content I like. I don't like having is dangling. So we played with it a little bit and then land it. Now you'll see me experiment a bit with what we call big numbers. Big numbers are the best numbers because if you're putting a number in, you really want the number to be more readable than the explanation of the number. People will remember the number much more that way, and it just visually is a much stronger approach for a number of reasons. So here you see me messing around, kind of outlining some formats. One of them is Crunchyroll. I think that's a massive exit in the space, and I think brought anime to the attention of many investors. So that being the leading streaming service, I think showing their statistics, showing that it's such a growing user base, I think is a really good way of a nice proxy explanation for capturing the size of the market. In the meantime, I'm also just putting in some of the demographic data, showing that this is, really this type of content that's engaged in by Gen Z and millennials alike. And you can kind of see me actually creating a little mini narrative within the numbers. So I have a ... connecting the first statement and the second. And instead of just saying 57% of millennials watch anime, we can actually say 69% of Gen Zers watch it, as well as a majority of millennials. So this is already reading better. There's actually like a little bit of writing even going into the copy beneath the numbers, which is a nice like level 2, level 3 thing you can think to do to make something super compelling. Now I come in and take this little text box from before, it's memorable, it stands out, it's a nice way of highlighting something. And what I'm thinking of doing is making a little Crunchyroll highlight. So I want to talk about the fact that it was acquired. I knew that it wasn't mentioned in the deck, so I cheated a little bit in bringing that in. But first I needed to get kind of a better logo PNG. Always use a logo PNG so that there's no background. I then go back to the market slide and pull in this big number that we have in there, which is I believe there's 120 million users or viewers each year. That's massive, especially when every single one could potentially be a accessible part of the market for this company, at least if they are single. Another piece of information there is I do think that when we're sizing this market, I much like the approach of number of users versus saying like the size of the anime market, which I believe we have on another slide in this deck. I think the size of the anime market in general doesn't really apply to this. What's interesting is how many people are there that could use this tool, and I'd approach it kind of bottoms up where, let's say we know there's this many million anime fans. We can assume this many are potentially dating or, would be interested in something like this. Okay, that means that maybe there could be 10 million users or 50 million users, and then kind of take that bottoms up approach. So what you see me doing right now is kind of making a decision, which is right now the slide feels kind of unbalanced. I don't quite feel like we have the right fully built, and the left I still feel like is kind of missing some more of the story, which is really that, there's men and women, this is the demographic point, that are using the product. So my first step is kind of putting in this thought. Millions of men and women fans are already bonding over the genre, but what you'll see in a second is I still am not quite happy with this coming up to the top. The slide looks okay, but the emphasis isn't quite working for me because now we have the point around men and women bonding actually separated from the demographic data on the right. And I end up making a game time decision to move this to the bottom left and use kind of Crunchyroll as a case study that shows up kind of early in the hierarchy of the slide. So we have fandom exploding. If you need any more proof, Crunchyroll got acquired for billions of dollars. And then this really allows us to make the right side really about the demographics and the fact that they're exploding. There's women watching this at higher and higher rates. There's men and women both watching. There's a balanced mix where it's 55% of fans are women. It's almost 50-50. And then it's really relevant to younger generations. So this is now becoming like the demographics portion of the slide, which is a really important part of the market. If anything, the slide could also be called audience. So, it's less of a true market slide, but the data was really about the audience and why it's a compelling audience. So I think either work. But what's now really exciting is we've proxy sized the market with this big Crunchyroll statement. We've now, basically brought in these demographic stats that show why it's so compelling. And then last thing I did just there was kind of reduce the bold of them for emphasis, just to make sure they were easily readable. They felt like they were actually grabbing too much attention. Thanks so much for coming to this episode of Second Opinion. Super fun to walk through this. Hopefully everyone learned something or saw something that they liked or didn't like. Definitely let me know if you'd approach something differently. I kind of just freestyle when I'm designing pitch decks and don't think too hard about it at this point. So it was really fun to peel back the process and talk through it for y'all. Really hope this was helpful. Definitely like, comment, subscribe, and don't forget to tune in 2 weeks for the next one.